Hey, it's Just Kennedy here, host of the Cricket Matters podcast. Today we're talking about unlocking the benefits of sprint training for performance and injury resistance. This is the Cricket Matters podcast. If you're new to the show, great to have you here. Please make sure to subscribe and review and push Cricket Matters way, way up the charts, all the way to the very top, if you could. If you hadn't subscribed yet, please do, and leave us a review if you get a chance. With me, as always, is my co-host, James Breeze. James, how are you doing? How's pre-season going for you?
It's going well, actually. It was fun. We had a proper Wales over 40s session on Sunday. Numbers getting out. It's starting to get a bit real. We got the first ODI against England in May coming up, and it's getting kind of exciting, particularly with some of the names potentially lined up for the England team as well. So I can't give too much away, but it's getting pretty exciting, getting pretty good, and I'm feeling better now.
You cannot drop any names on us.
No, there's a couple of ex-Test players. Let's put it that way. A couple of ex-Test players who might be playing against Wales. So yeah, it's all going good, and I'm feeling healthier finally, so I can actually train properly again.
That's excellent. And also, I found out what man-cadding is this morning. When you showed me that video on Twitter, which is apparently blowing up. Do you want to, in case the listeners don't know, do you want to talk about it?
There was a brilliant video, as everyone in the world of cricket probably knows right now, that this year, particularly the Northern Hemisphere now, that the man-cadding law has come into effect. And it's going to be absolute carnage, we think, in the lower divisions. And as it proved to be, this video on Twitter of some final or something happening in Tasmania, where people ran on the pitch, there was people very angry at what happened. It's just bad form in general. However, it's quite funny watching these videos, and I think there's been many more of them this summer as well. Now it's come into place. But
I never knew what it was, and when you showed it to me, I just laughed. I didn't realise it was bad sportsmanship. Now you've explained it, I totally understand that it is bad sportsmanship. Like I said, all I can relate it to is football, when you kick the ball out of play for an injured player and then the other team don't throw it back, which it doesn't. That's
not bad.
Count on one hand at the number of times that happens. It doesn't happen, does it? And if a team does do it, that's bad. That's bad form.
It's bad form, but imagine that times 100. I think that's the best way to put it. So yeah, now I think things are going well. It's good to get this podcast back on the road. We've had lots of things happening behind the scenes here, so we haven't been as consistent with the podcast recently, just because we're setting up other things to help spread even more cricketing and fitness joy to everyone out there. So don't worry, we're back. We haven't gone anywhere. We're still here. We're just making things bigger and better, because you guys have sent us up the charts, and you're coming more to us in your droves, and it's been great to see. So shout out to everyone, including the XL boys, the Wales over 40s boys, and all the other teams and clubs listening out there in the world of cricketing podcasts.
Sounds like you're on a radio phone and giving a shout out to your mum or something.
Okay. We're starting the mum jokes now, aren't we?
That's it. We've done it. That's the only mum joke we're doing. Today we are talking about benefits of sprint training for performance and injury resistance. You've started to introduce some of this work into your over 40s training, right? Do you want to get us started?
A little bit with the 40s, mostly with Cardiff actually. So right. We've literally hammered home the idea of improving improving sprint mechanics into the mixture, because what I've discovered very very quickly is that nobody gets taught sprint mechanics and running mechanics ever anymore. I don't think, unless you're like a track and field athlete specialising in that. No one's really working on that. And one of the things I've identified is the coordination side of things and the sprint drills to help people in Cardiff, particularly Cardiff Cricket Club, improve and get faster, but more importantly, be a bit more coordinated, and also improve their resilience to injury. Because this is something that's really important. I think what I see time and time again every single year is that a lot of people get injured before the end of May. Mostly in the first couple of games of the season, because they're not used to the intensity of sprinting that the demands of the game require. Particularly, let's just say, sprinting 1s, 2s, 3s quickly in the game, and when the heat of the battle is happening, and you've got to get
or sprinting
fast.
in the field. There's lots of sprinting that goes on in the field when you're chasing
Change directions,
balls and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but no one really practices that to the intensity that matches that in the game. Now, one of the biggest factors of reducing the risk of injuries, particularly in basic things like hamstring pulls, tears, calf pulls, quad pulls, we've got to sprint more often. Now, this may counter Everything we've said on the podcast about being ready to sprint and getting ready to do this, we've got to build all that up over time. But there's an element where we have to do a little bit of safe sprinting to get the body ready and prepared for it. Because if you don't do all the other work, then fair enough, that's on you a little bit. However, we've still got to get you a bit ready to get ready for the game as well. But those differences on technique and sprinting speed make the difference between game-changing efforts, like being able to sprint to catch the ball and that diving scream on the boundary you can take. The fact you're getting in instead of being run out, you're turning ones into twos. Little things like that make a massive difference. Run outs just in the ring, just like getting to the ball quicker and like fielding the ball in faster. Like all these things make a big difference. So from what I've seen and seeing at the club level, no one's focusing on sprint mechanics and technique to get to people here, and this is what we've been working on a lot at Cardiff behind the scenes, and it's proving quite fruitful. Like we're timing people, we're getting people in faster for running ones and twos. We've seen it already happen, and that's what we're trying to get across to people today. Is that okay? We need to do some fitness work. We need to get fitter for everything, but we've also got to improve our sprint training. Because it's more than just being faster to run towards balls, it's like injury prevention as well. And that's what we're trying to get across today in today's podcast.
Indeed. So where do you start? Is it with a bit of speed and agility work? Is there not that kind of thing done already in cricket, maybe at the lower levels?
Not the lower levels that I've seen. I think obviously at the high levels they're introducing this when they can. You see quite a lot of that, which is great to see. But it hasn't filtered down into the lower leagues, where I think is actually more important in terms of injury prevention. So, in terms of starting out, the way we've been structuring the sessions at Cardiff, for example, the first 15 to 30 minutes is what I use, and I'm warming everybody up. I'm doing mobility sessions, and I'm activating the muscles. Very important for sprinting. You mobilise the joints. It's dynamic movements. You're activating the muscles that you're going to be using, particularly the core. The hamstrings, the quads, all these things that could come into effect. And then we're going into basic technique work with mechanics of running, the gait pattern. Because sprinting mechanics is different to just jogging. It's about force production. So we start doing a little bit of marching, the A's, the B's, C skips a little bit. So a few of the boys are like, what the hell are we doing? This feels a bit weird and silly. But if everyone as a team is doing it, there's a reason, everyone's okay with that sort of mentality. But we're trying to work on technique, but we're priming the body to get ready for full speed sprints. Yeah, essentially.
And we're not talking about 100-metre sprints here either, are we?
No, not at all. We're talking about, I'd say for amateurs, maximal speed work over 5 yards. 5 metres maybe tops to begin with. And we're going into that just short, sharp to build it in. We'll do longer later to build into the ones and twos running between the wickets. But for the first few sessions, we want to build up slowly, as in prep the body, doing the A skips, the B skips, marching in place, these type of things. These are all sprinting drills you can do to get the body ready. And then when we're going to sprints, we never do more than 3 maximal sprint efforts. Never more than 3, because we want to keep the body fresh for the session, because you'll feel primed and ready and switched on to go and do it. But it's also, anything above that has a detrimental effect to the speed quality, but also a potential high risk to injury. We got to do it often.
And as you say, you got to prep, because you're doing this at the start of the session, right?
Yeah.
Because this isn't. We're not talking a finisher. That's a totally different thing, because you could do sprints as a finisher potentially, depending on what your goal is.
Like shuttle runs and stuff.
Shuttle run. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing we're talking about, doing suicide sprints. Yeah. You're doing it specifically at the start of the session when you're fresh.
Yeah, definitely. And there is a big difference. People sometimes think sprint work as get sprinting and conditioning confused. This is not conditioning work. We're doing sprint-based stuff to improve maximal speed, to improve your speed reserve, to make you faster and more mobile and work within your threshold on the field better. So it's about priming the body, staying fresh at the end of it, not exhausted and beat down. That's a high-end conditioning session. And if we get people beat down at the start of a session, it's going to have a detrimental effect to the skill-based practice in nets after that. So we're just priming the body, basically, to get ready for the session, to get them switched on, alert. It's little things as well. It's like the sprints will actually improve your reaction time. There's drills we can do where like on my command they're sprinting and competing easier to get the ball to throw it above the wicket. We're trying to improve their their agility, speed, but also their reaction time too. So at what point does the ball come towards them? How are you anticipating the ball? It's these things. So it's more than just getting them run faster. It's like improving all these things that make up a really good fielding cricketer.
Yeah, well, that all carries over to the game, doesn't it, in real time?
Yeah, massively so. So there's elements of that to it. But in terms of like safety, if we talk about just injury pulls, like muscle pulls, muscle strains, like they always tend to happen when someone's accelerating, decelerating, or changing direction. So those are the three elements we've got to be aware of. So we're trying to incorporate all of these three things.
And you're also doing some specific sort of change of direction drills as well, right?
Yeah, at the moment.
To help people with those mechanics.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much. It's just little things. If you get little steps, little techniques to change direction, start running behind you, watching the ball come over the top. It's like, that's what I see people slow, particularly over the high ball. They're struggling and backpedaling fast. They haven't got the ability to catch the ball. But there's
probably
drills
a technique that people don't really think about. It's like, you just change direction naturally, or you just, you'd run backwards and look at the ball naturally. There's actually footwork drills and all sorts of stuff, body positioning you can do to make you more efficient, better at that.
Exactly, and it's hard to talk about that on the podcast. Once the summer comes now, we can get outside, we can do some videos and show people some of the stuff we're trying to teach and get across to people, because it makes a massive difference. That split second in the field, getting to that ball and throwing in is a chance of a run out and impacting the game. So we're definitely want to encourage that and improve this lateral change direction, because also in terms of injury prevention, we've got to safeguard those knees, those ACLs, MCLs, all these things to consider about in how we're trying to do it. But yeah, there's multiple factors coming into it. But it's what I've seen as a team, for example, with Cardiff, we've started off as a team running twos without a bat, no pads, sub 8 seconds. And as a unit, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, we've now gone down to sub 7 seconds as a unit, with some of the fast boys running twos, sub 6. Right?
Well, out of interest, what's a quick two in the professional game? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, actually.
It'd be interesting to know that.
I would be interested to know that, and that's probably with kit on as well. So
that's what I'm talking about with kit. Yeah,
this is without kit. Yeah. So it's good to see the boys are getting faster. It's carrying over to the fielding drills, which is really good. So yeah, that's what we want to be faster on the field this year. That's the thing. But for me, it's more of an injury prevention thing. How can we reduce the risk of injury come May? Because come June, every club's the same. Like they're struggling to find players because some of them are injured.
Is it similar to football? Lots of hamstring, calf injuries in cricket.
Yeah, hamstring, calf, back problems a lot of the time with the bowling and stuff as well. But we're just talking basic muscular things. Yeah, similar thing. Calves, hamstrings, Achilles. I've seen it go a few times, which is horrible.
Yeah, well, you're going from a lot of the time, because it is, again, I always relate it to football because that's my sport. It's more, you're doing a lot of stuff from a standing start in cricket, which must put even more pressure on the body, because obviously footballers, they're generally always moving, even if they're they're walking slowly, they're moving, constantly moving around the pitch. Whereas cricketers, they're going from a dead stop, and then they've got to move, react quickly. So that's, obviously in
stop-start
that kind of movement terms, stop-start, puts a lot more pressure on the body, on the joints, on the muscles.
Exactly, and also people, let's just take someone who's batted in the first innings and they've scored a ton, and they're tired, exhausted, and they go into the fielding area and they go do maximal sprints in the field. Like they're going to be stiff, they're going to be sore, and be fatigued, and under that fatigue, that's when something can go wrong too.
Well, what do they do? Out of interest, is there anything they do in terms of recovery after you've batted a ton and it's your turn to come out and field?
Not much time.
No, not
much time. Not in
sort of turnaround in terms of, like, I don't know, what you eat, getting a massage. Is there any time for any of that stuff?
Not in that. At professional levels, they might get a massage. At club levels, you've got no chance. Yeah. No chance.
You don't massage each other in the changing room?
No, not recently. No.
What about chucking some foam rollers and massage balls in there then? Get a little bit of.
It just isn't realistic. You got maybe a 20-minute fatigue turnaround. Yeah. If you're lucky, so it's you're back out in the field. That's the way it goes. Suck it up, princess. Carry on. That's
No, but I'm coming at it from a person who doesn't play cricket, so I'm just trying to think logically. Is what can you do, if anything? You've got a short amount of time. What can you do to maximise your recovery before you come back out? I don't know.
Eat, replenish fuels,
eat something,
electrolytes,
replenish, water, salts, electrolytes,
all those sorts of things. Stretch, like literally mobilise a little bit and dynamically stretch again. That would be a good thing to do.
Yep.
Activate the muscles, the right muscles. But yeah, it's a tough one. It is a really tough one to try and do it. But the only way to do it is be sport specific. You've got to play a lot of cricket now to get used to that idea, to build a tolerance. That's what you'll try and do.
Cool. What about hill sprints? Because we are a fan of hill sprints. So if a club has a hill available, they are a really great way to train sprints as well, because they are limiting. Because there's only you can only sprint up a hill so fast.
Yep. No, exactly. Get improved leg drivers. There's so many good things. So like if someone's here like listening to the podcast going, okay, well, what do I do to start sprinting? So I would do the following. Like before we get to hill sprints, we'll lead into this now. You would do like you mark out 10 yards. Let's just say half a cricket, the cricket wicket, right? Essentially, so 10, 11 yards, basically half a cricket wicket. You do a 5-yard jog in, right? Into a sprint. So you're jogging into it. So it's not from a cold start. You're just doing 5 yards to begin with, right? Even just a quarter of that, of the wicket, essentially. Just doing 5 yards maximal sprint. So 5 yards gentle jog into 5 yards hard effort, and you're repeating that 3 times, right? That's it. Next session, you go 5 yards again. A couple of sessions after that, you go increase to 10 yards, but we're not going above 10 yards maximal sprint effort. But we're doing a walk into it. So it's not from a cold start. That's the most important thing. 5 yard fly, 5 yard, 10 yard fly is almost essentially what you're trying to do. We're building into it. We're not going into the full maximal effort from there coming into it. We're just 5 yards into 10 yard effort. Same thing with sprinting uphill. 5 yards into going up there, like way better. I'd start with a hill first in that 5 yard, 10 yard kind of sprint, or 5 yards, and improve over time. But no more than 3. No more than 3 in a session. That's a really key point here. Is like you're not doing anything more than maximal efforts over three pieces. Yeah, got to stay fresh. You've got to look after the central nervous system, and it's got to protect it. So it's volume.
You've got to be careful not to walk out your crease.
Yeah. Yes. Never mind cadding. But no, it is adding those sort of thoughts into it. So no more than 3, and you do it no more than 3 times a week. Yeah. Again, it's volume, keeping fresh. Now, there's other things you can do on top after this. If you want to do extra things like wickets, you can do like marching stuff. All these things is extra stuff you can do around it. But in terms of just basic sprinting, no more than a maximum of 10 yards, 5 yard walk-ins, and then you can go from maybe standing starts where you're lying on your front, or half kneeling, or whatever you want to do into that cold start after that. But don't go straight into it yet. Build into it. Give yourself 4-6 weeks, 3 times a week doing this, and it'll take you no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Like literally, no more than 10 minutes, and do it when you're fresh. Do it when you're fresh.
Exactly. And then fingers crossed, less injuries, and fingers crossed less injuries for you guys in Cardiff and in your over 40s guys. We'll see.
Hopefully,
hey, we'll see. We're implementing all this, and we can report back.
Exactly. Well, the biggest testament I've had back from the over 50s, come back from South Africa, who did well, was that they haven't had any injuries.
Yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? No injuries, and they were doing their stretch in the field after the game, right?
Exactly. Before and after, they nailed it. Yeah. So shout out to those boys. It's great to see. So yeah, there's lots of little things happening here, but the idea is, look, there's more. I think there's a lot you can do in terms of improving your cricketing ability. Mm-hmm. Also improving your conditioning a little bit, right? But for me, it's improving speed and agility, right? Get the techniques nailed down and do some sprinting work to improve your overall athleticism on the field, running between wickets, sprinting to the balls. But it's also injury prevention. Yep. I think that's injury prevention and improving your reaction time, getting used to running on times and like getting things moving. So,
yeah. Well, as you say, before we wrap up, you were timing the guys, and that suddenly changed the game, right? They're all getting competitive, wanting to beat each other and beat their times.
Oh, so the secret to getting faster is timing people.
Yeah.
Always rank and record and publish. Rank, record and publish. That's the secret from all the top sprint coaches. Like you ranking them from top to bottom. Like you're gonna literally record their times, and then you publish so they can all see it on the board. Boom. Okay. Afterwards. And there's lots more stuff we can do, like with sprinting and everything, like sled work and things like that. But that's we'll save that for videos.
Well, how many cricket clubs have got sleds?
Not much.
So exactly. So a bit more.
Maybe I can push Cardiff to get some. How about that?
Yeah, do that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone from Cardiff, listen out. There you go. You need some sleds. Get some sleds which are great for sprint work.
Timing gates.
Yeah, timing gates, indeed. If people want to find out a little bit more about what we do, where should they go?
At cricketmatters.com, and we've got a free book for you. It's the High Performance Handbook for Cricketers. It gives you an idea of our training system, and hopefully it'll help you out to understand where you come to, and also see where sprinting fits on the hierarchy of athletic development on there, which is technically a layer 3 element.
Indeed. But as I say, it's in the game, so it's got to be done.
Exactly.
Indeed. Well, James, thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time.